What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you again. This is Wednesday, April 23rd. We're on a nice run on the show right now, 5 winning days in a row. I told you, man, NBA playoffs plus baseball plus hockey playoffs tends to be a good stretch for me virtually every year, and it is happening again. I don't want to jinx it. I mean, of course, I can't keep doing this well, but I'm on whatever it is. I think a 16-5 run right now. Is that right? 15-6, maybe, whatever it is. And over the last 5 days, over that span, 4-1 in the NBA playoffs, including the one play-in win, 4-0 in the NHL playoffs. Baseball kind of chugging along. So yesterday, the one loss was in baseball. And it was a bad one with Baltimore. Is that one I had to lay a little bit of a money line price with that one around like minus 130, and they lost 7-0. So I apologize for that. Dean Creamer, I should have known not to bet on that guy. I mean, he sucks. Fuck him. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that. That was a loss. The other plays all won. We had Minnesota on the run line. That was a little bit dicey, I know, because their offense isn't very good. They were winning that game, I think, 2-0 for most of it, and then it was 2-1, and then they scored 2 in the bottom of the 8th. I think they made it 4-1, and then they give one more run. I think it went something like that. They still covered the run line, barely, 4-2, so I'll take it, and then looked way better in NBA and hockey with 2 easy wins on the Lakers in the zigzag. That was the only zigzag spot that actually hit, as Memphis certainly didn't play anywhere near as poorly, but they still lost by more than the spread, which is what I was worried about, really. Like, even if they zigzagged and they played significantly better, it was like, would that be enough? And it wasn't quite enough to get within that huge number. Milwaukee, the Bucks, I think the handicap was mostly right on that one. They didn't wind up covering the spread. The over did hit in that game, I'm pretty sure. In the Milwaukee team total, I know a lot of professional bettors liked Milwaukee to go over the team total in that one rather than actually trying to play the side just to kind of avoid the Lillard reverse injured player theory situation. I assume he played last night, but I didn't even look to make sure, so I'll have to dive into that box score. But Milwaukee did not cover. But the game that I actually had, the Lakers, I pinpointed the right zigzag spot there, man. A lot of times the best zigzag is the home favorite there that's down 0-1. Like that, they get like super motivated for that game because it's like they can't lose. I know it's desperation mode in a way, but when you get a good team, good quality team like that in a spot like that, I think that's the way to do it. And I'm going to do that again today with my one NBA play. Hi, Anna. What's up? Good to see you in the morning. Usually I see you on like when I randomly do like weekend streams and whatever. All right, let me get my screen sharing here. Oh, yeah, and then the Florida Panthers, I mean, that was an easy blowout win as well. I mean, what else can I say about that? Maybe the game wasn't quite as much of a blowout as it looked, but Florida definitely controlled the pace of that game. Tampa had more shots, but I think it was because they were losing the game so badly. I mean, I think Vasilevsky was in net, and he was like a sieve early on. So many goals were getting through for Florida early on. I mean, however it happens, I'll take it. It makes me look good because I still am undefeated in the hockey playoffs so far. So let's move on to today. I'll talk about NBA first, and then NHL is really going to be somewhat boring because I don't have anything in the NHL. NBA, we got 3 games. First game up is my Boston Celtics. Game 2 against the Magic. I will not be going to this game. The line has dropped from the Celtics 12 to 10.5 here. They are public because, of course, they're going to be. They are the Boston Celtics, and they already won the first game by margin. 69% of the tickets, only 65% of the cash. The line in game 1 was 13.5, but I think we have 2 things going on here. So I think the books are adjusting for the zigzag for one thing, but I think adjusting for the zigzag, I think would still put it in like that 12 range, down from 13.5. Just give like a point and a half off because the Magic, like they have to show up with a little bit more intensity here. Maybe the Celtics, after an easy win, will take their foot off the gas a little bit, as we've seen the Celtics do in some of these playoffs. Game 2s have actually been kind of the worst game for them in a way, I believe, the last couple of seasons, where they win in a blowout in game 1 and then they just kind of relax a little bit. Game 2, game 3, you could see the Celtics maybe drop a game somewhere here, though obviously they should win the series. Now, the other reason why the line is dropped like this, though, is because Jason Tatum is not going to play in this game. He got injured in the game that I was at on Sunday against the Magic, and it looked bad at the time, and he was down on the floor for a while, and it was a flagrant foul, I believe, on Carter, I believe, on the Magic. I think that's his name. I'll have to go back and figure it out, look at the replay, because we need to know who on the Magic we need to blame for that and hate for that. It was a pretty cheap play, really. I mean, he took Tatum down when Tatum was in the air. I think to some extent Tatum might have had the wind knocked out of him, which is why he was on the ground for so long. Because I'm thinking, oh shit, it's a leg injury if he can't get up, but it is not. It's an arm injury, and he actually stayed in the game after that and shot his free throws, and he hit a three at some point after that. So I don't know. So I think the Celtics are just kind of playing load management here and being like, well, we'll play it a little bit cautious. But I think what that's also going to do is that if you have your star player, like one of your top two players out of the lineup here, the Celtics are so deep that it doesn't really affect the Celtics as much as it would affect other teams. And Jason Tatum didn't even play well in game one. I mean, I think he hit 1 3, and it was that one I mentioned after the injury. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but he really did not have a good shooting game at all. The Celtics actually, surprisingly, even though they won by margin anyway, won by 17, their starting lineup didn't even score that much. Peyton Pritchard, I think, was the second leading scorer. He just comes off the bench and starts draining threes. Derek White, I believe, was the only starter who got anywhere close to to exceeding his Peyton Pritchard's point total. White was in like the 20s, I think. So crazy. The Celtics ridiculously deep, so losing a starter means less to them than it does to maybe any other team in the NBA. But also what I was going to say is what that's going to do is if you lose your star player, that might actually have you more focused, whereas the Celtics might have a tendency to take their foot off the gas if they realize, oh shit, like our best player is not playing in this game. That might actually cause them to still be focused here. So I don't really want to play the zigzag here. The total is not zigzagging. The total was 205 in game one. It had dropped, I think, down from 210, and the total still went way under. It was like in the 180s. Now this total is down from 201, juiced to the under to 197.5. So game one opened at 210, and now we're down to 197 in game two. I think at some point, this is an over adjustment, man. At some point, even though we do see the public coming in on the over, 82% of tickets, 63% of the cash. I mean, there's no value left, in my opinion, in taking an under here. I mean, even though these teams both play slow, they both play defense. I think this might, at this point, be an overreaction to maybe the Tatum injury plus game one being crazy low scoring and the last time the Magic played the Celtics prior to that, towards the end of the season, extremely low scoring game. But remember, the Celtics didn't play like any of their starters in that game. So I think it might be an over adjustment at this point. So I wouldn't want to play the under here either. Not really running. I'm not running to take the over here either. Heat and Cavs. Cavs down for 12.5 to 12 here. 61% of tickets, but 73% of the cash coming in on them. I played the Cavs in game one. Thought it was a bad spot for the Heat. The Heat and the Grizzlies especially, they both were coming off those two games, especially the Heat coming off two straight road games, coming in and having to play game one against a way better team. I mean, they both pretty much got blown out. So I had the win on the Cavs. That was one of my NBA wins there. This is a zigzag spot, and the Heat do have the coaching edge still with Eric Spoelstra there, even though they, of course, don't have as deep a roster and they don't have as good a roster here on the Heat. But they do try to slow the game down, and the total's down from 217 to 212 here. 72% of tickets on the over, 66% of the cash coming in on the under. So the money is coming in on the under, but again, I think a lot of the value is just already extracted out. I mean, that's what you see, like I said, in the NBA. You see a lot of these totals just fly away. Like, you lose value on it. So the only total I tried to play so far was on the closing number, where I think we had value after an overreaction on it, on that over the other night, and it still didn't get there in that Clippers game. So I'm staying away from these totals. I mean, a big move like that pretty much indicates that's where like the professional money is. That's where the bigger money is. But again, the value is kind of lost at this point. Even though if you do like the Heat to cover here, you probably like them to slow the game down a bit and play defense, because that's what they do. Cavs are the better offensive team, though, of course, and they're pretty good defensively themselves. But is that going to let them cover a huge number like this again? Maybe not. I mean, Spoelstra might have something up his sleeve here to kind of make some adjustments here. And remember, the Heat did play the Cavs pretty competitively during the regular season. The Heat won one of the games at home, and they lost, I think, the final game that they played against the Cavs. Although the Cavs might not have cared that much about the game at that point, but the Heat only lost that one game by 5 at Cleveland. So I don't know if there's that much we can take away from that. Obviously, I didn't put that much stock into it when I laid the points with the Cavs in game 1, but that's what we got going on there. Anna, you too. Have a great day. Warriors, Rockets. This is the game where I'm going to go zigzag here. I'm going to play on Houston, and you could lay -3 on this. I know it's a little bit up from where it was in game 1. Of course, we didn't get to the opening number on this. You could lay the money line on this. You can see the money line still out there at around -150 or so. The Rockets aren't getting much public love, 53% of tickets. I mean, Golden State, they came into this series being the public team. I mean, they're the Golden State Warriors. They got Steph Curry. They still got Draymond Green. They got Jimmy Butler now. So Curry and Butler, I mean, the public loves those guys because they score. The public basically can't even name a player on the Rockets. So that's sometimes you will find value on a team like that where the Rockets, they don't have big names. They play good defense. Yes, I know they're not as good offensively, but I think this is a game where the Rockets are absolutely going to show up. I think game 1, the experience factor kind of took over. The Warriors were able to get it done in game 1, but also game 1 was a little bit of an outlier. Even though I did like the Warriors in game 1, I do have them winning the series in my bracket. The Warriors, I mean, this was a blowout for a lot of the game, but it was a bad shooting game for the Rockets, man. And yeah, they're not as good offensively as Golden State is, but they are the better defensive team. And the Warriors shot crazy low, 39.1% from the field, 20.7% from three-point range. And they dominated on the inside. They out-rebounded the Warriors 52-36. And they lost the turnover battle, which you usually don't see from a home team. So I think there are some indicators the Rockets should be able to readjust here and play better, as they're probably not going to shoot this poorly again. They might not lose the turnover battle 2 games in a row at home, and they actually were crashing the boards really well and dominating one of the most predictable stats, which is the rebound. So I actually like the Rockets to get this game here, even though I know they were 1.5 in game 1. Now they're 3. Closer to 3.5. If you want a money line price on this, you could probably find it around -150. And again, I mean, a lot of these NBA playoffs, especially, you got to like act really fast on some of these numbers. I like the under as well in this game. It's down for 207.5 to 203. I think if you like the Rockets, it coincides with the under because they like to play defense. Probably kind of try to slow the game down a little bit. 68% of tickets, 73% of cash on the over, though. But I think the real money is on the under. But again, you lost 4.5 points of value on the under. So again, you got to act fast. But I do like the Warriors here. I do like the Rockets here. I'm on the Houston Rockets. I think they should be able to get the job done. I mean, 3 I don't think is that big a spread to lay, even though I know it's the zigzag. The books know about the zigzag. They know that the whole deal is that the Rockets lost game 1 at home. They are a good team. And again, just like I said with the Lakers yesterday, you get a good team that lost at home, they are going to be extra motivated to not lose that second game at home, but also they're going to be the team that has all the adjustments to make. And like I just pointed out, there are reasons to think that the Rockets should be able to put in a much better performance in game 2 here. I think that is what's going to happen. I will either lay the points or lay a money line with the Rockets. I got to decide which one. -3, I found it -110 out there, so that seems pretty good. It seems like the line is continuing to go up as well, even though you got to think, I mean, number-wise, there's not a whole lot of value left, but this is a situational play, man, where it's going to be Houston. And Houston does still have a good coach in Udoka there. So I think now that Houston does have one game out of the way in the playoffs, you're going to start to see them like become a little bit more experienced and maybe play a little bit better during this series than what they looked like in game 1. And game 1 was actually kind of played at their pace. It was a very low-scoring game, which is kind of what Houston wants. So the game was at their pace. I mean, yeah, that might look bad because they still lost, even though the game was at their pace. But even so, I mean, I think this is going to be a Houston win in that game. So that's where I'm going there. NHL, I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say about the NHL here. Washington is coming off kind of a scare. This is the first game up, Washington against Montreal. Washington's down from -201 to -183, so the professional money really does not like Washington that much. 63% of tickets and 54% of the cash, so the professional money, I mean, it looks like reverse line movement on Washington. Washington is the more public team. I mean, of course, they're one of the best records in hockey this year. Public likes them. They don't think much about Montreal. I mean, I don't think Montreal really has experience to get this done. But Montreal did look good in game 1. I mean, they took Washington to overtime in game 1, but it was a 2-0 Washington lead in the third period. Then Montreal tied it late, sent it into overtime after they were losing pretty much all game. So I could see this going both ways, man. You could argue that Washington's overvalued here, but in this spot, because Washington got such a scare in game 1, you could argue they're going to play better in game 2 here. So, I mean, that's pretty much all my thoughts on that game. I don't really have a whole lot there. Dallas and Colorado, I mean, this is a game 3, so this series is actually shifting to Colorado. Dallas is going to have to go into elevation here, which I think is bad for Dallas. I think the best play on the board here is actually Colorado, just playing them on the money line, but it is a pretty hefty price, so I haven't done it. They're up from minus 158 to now minus 178, so the money is coming in that way. 64% of tickets, 78% of the cash coming in on Colorado. Money on the under as well, down from 6.5 to 6.5 juice to the under. 78% of tickets, 81% of the cash on the under. We saw a 7-goal game in game 2. It did go into overtime. I think you could see these teams maybe have more of a battle this time, and maybe it'll be a little bit of a lower scoring game. Game 1 was fairly high scoring as well, as I think Colorado, I think it only hit 6, though, because Dallas didn't put any points on the board. But you might see a more defensive game here. Maybe the elevation might affect them a little bit here. We'll see how the elevation might affect the defense, but I think the elevation, really what it's going to do is help Colorado, man. I mean, I see this being another zigzag spot where Colorado won game 1. I won on Colorado in game 1, and the final score looked like more of a blowout than the game actually was. Dallas bounced back and won game 2 in a close one as a home underdog. Now we're shifting the series. I think Colorado's going to have the adjustments to make again. They're going to have that home ice advantage. So I do like Colorado in this one. And I believe they are the better team. And I think Dallas, even though I believe Dallas actually has the better record, right, because they're the home team in the series, so the public probably won't like Dallas as much as like the professional money likes. Public will probably not like Colorado, as much as the professional money likes Colorado. As we can see here, that seems to be the case. So lean to Colorado in that game. I do think they will win the game. And then we have Edmonton and the Kings. This one, I mean, I would be tempted to maybe look to an under here, even though it seems crazy. The first game was so high scoring with 11 goals scored at 6-5, and I was on the Kings. Kings had a 4-1 lead in that game. They had a 5-2 lead middle of the third period, and then blew the entire lead, and then scored again in the final minute to retake the lead and win the game. Just a crazy game where LA should have won that game more easily. So I could see this going both ways, which is why I'm not going to be on the zigzag here, even though it seems like the money is coming in on the zigzag. And again, I think maybe under makes sense because game 1 was just so high scoring. And this game is still at LA, and LA really wants to play a lower scoring game, even though they won in a higher scoring game in game 1. LA is really the team that plays better defense, and they want to keep this game lower scoring, whereas Edmonton doesn't play as good defense and wants to score way more. So surprising to see Edmonton lose in a shootout like that. Not literally in a shootout this time. And I don't mean with guns either. I mean, it didn't go into overtime or a shootout as LA got that final goal in regulation. But it was a shootout as far as the fact there were tons of shots going around, tons of goals. In a way, yeah, so I mean, under might make sense just because people are not going to want to take the under here at all. Public all over the over, 92% of tickets, 98% of the cash, though. Total actually has gone up a little bit with heavier juice, up towards the 6. The money is coming in on Edmonton as well as LA, down from minus 135 to minus 129. Money coming in on basically the zigzag here, expecting Edmonton to make adjustments. 61% of tickets, 79% of the cash coming in on Edmonton. I don't really necessarily disagree with that entirely, but I have hesitation because LA really dominated that game, and as far as the most of the game was concerned, as far as what they had on the scoreboard for most of the game, and the final score does not indicate how big of a lead LA really had in that game. And LA is really dominant at home, as I pointed out, as part of that handicap in game 1, so I don't really want to fade LA at home, especially off a game where they actually should have won the game way more easily than the final score would suggest. And that's kind of a heartbreaker for Edmonton, whereas it was a scare for LA. Edmonton, which might keep LA focused here, Edmonton had to like really, really push it and get that huge effort to make that huge comeback. So they might be running out of steam a little bit here. So those are my feelings there. And I also wouldn't really want to play the under because it is a game 2, by the way. So game 2s tend to be a little bit higher scoring because the teams are a little bit more tired, so the defenses can be affected by that. So no hockey plays for me today. Let's go over to Major League Baseball. And again, I'm keeping it very selective here. I'll talk about some of the bigger matchups. I mean, we have St. Louis and Atlanta. I mean, big name teams here. Atlanta's a minus 160 favorite, even though they have Bryce Elder on the mound, who absolutely sucks, but they might be the right side here. 84% of tickets, 93% of the cash coming in on Atlanta. I believe Atlanta won game one of the series, lost last night. I think it might be the spot where they come back and they kind of zigzag and win again here, mostly because Miles Mikolas is on the hill for St. Louis, and he's been awful this year. 7.64 ERA, 1.58 whip. Nothing to really love here. 11-7 strikeout walk ratio is not good. More hits than innings pitched. He's allowed almost as many runs as innings pitched, which is terrible. And against the Braves, career-wise, not good. 119 at-bats. They've seen him a lot, and they've had 9 home runs off him, and it's not even one guy doing the damage. It's basically all across the lineup. 319 average allowed, 983 OPS, so Mikolas has not been good against the Braves. Bryce Elder, though, he sucks. 7.2 ERA, 1.53 whip. Not good numbers for Bryce Elder. He has not really turned it around yet. This season, I mean, not horrible. 3, 5, and 4 earned runs, so he hasn't had one game where he's gotten completely lit up, let's say, but he just hasn't been good just in general. He's just been very mediocre at best. 10-5 strikeout walk ratio, more hits than innings pitched, almost as many runs as innings pitched. Did face the Dodgers, so I guess you can give him a pass on that one, but he's not a great pitcher, although he does okay against St. Louis in 47 at-bats. 15-1 strikeout walk ratio is pretty good. 255 average and 739 OPS. That's not really that bad. I hesitate to lay like a price like this with a pitcher as bad as Elder is, but that would be the only way I would look, as Mikolas is actually even worse and he has the worst matchup. The over might also be worth a look in this game. 78% of tickets, 79% of the cash on the over. Total is flipped from 9 juice to the under to 9 juice to the over. But again, I could see Bryce Elder actually pitching well for once in this game, so I have hesitations going over as well. And I believe both bullpens didn't pitch that much yesterday, although it was a 10-4 game. I actually don't think the bullpens were used that. Oh, no, I'm wrong about that. Atlanta's bullpen was used actually quite a bit because Blewett had to make like a spot start for them, so they had to go into the bullpen early with Bummer. That is a bummer. So St. Louis actually has the more rested bullpen coming into this. That's the other issue. So if you like Atlanta here, the first 5-inning wager just on the starting pitching matchup might actually be the better way to go to put all your faith in Bryce Elder. Oh, boy. But actually, the over does make sense as far as that's concerned, because you got Elder, who could maybe just be mediocre, Mikolas, who sucks against Atlanta with a kind of a burned-out bullpen, so the over might actually be the better way to look in that game. Next up is a game I actually have a play on. I'm going to take Cincinnati as an underdog at plus 110. I think this is a good spot to grab Cincinnati, even though they are going to be public, because you're fading Miami, and the public never wants Miami. In this case, I think they're right. The line has moved up from minus 155 to minus 115 to minus 126. 80% of tickets, 89% of the cash on the Cincinnati side. So Cincinnati looks like they have the public ticket percentage, but they also have the cash percentage right now. So I don't know what that initial move was. I don't know if it was a pitching change or what that was, but I think Brady Singer actually has the upper hand here. But I also like the situation, as Miami has won 3 games in a row, a big win against Philadelphia, giving them momentum coming into this series. Beat Cincinnati both games in this series so far. So I think Cincinnati's going to be extra motivated here, and you're getting them as an underdog. They're trying to avoid the sweep. Miami's not a very good team, although they're probably better this year than people think, or people thought that they were going to be, and probably better than people still think. So you might find value on Miami in a lot of cases, as I did. I think I played them in game 1 of the series, if I remember correctly, because the pitching matchup with Max Meyer I thought was way, way better. It's not Max Meyer on the mound today from Miami, although it is their second best pitcher, which I'll get to in a second. But Miami, the fact that they've won these 2 games, I think they might come into this game a little bit overconfident at this point, and they have tomorrow off, and then they play the Dodgers, which is a huge series. I know maybe they'll still be motivated to get to 500, but I think Cincinnati at the dog price here, and I think they have the better of the starting pitching matchup, as I'll talk about right now. I think it makes sense to go with Cincinnati, try to avoid the sweep here. Miami still could get caught in the look ahead. Brady Singer pitching for the Reds. I mean, not really a secret. I mean, his ERA is better than Alcantara's on Miami's side here, and I don't think it's that much of a mismatch. But I like this a little bit better. Brady Singer, by the way, from Leesburg, Florida. Shout out to Tower Gang, as that is basically the city of Tower Gang HQ now. Bohemian Grove will be there in a couple of months, man. So I don't know when the tickets are going to become available. Listen to Tower Gang tonight, and we will, discuss it further. But Brady Singer is the official pitcher of Tower Gang now. And hopefully he gets this done for us today. 1.27 whip this year isn't that good. 3.8 ERA is good. So, yeah, in a way, his ERA should be a little bit higher right now. But some of his numbers aren't that great just because pitching in Great American Ballpark is just not that easy, man. And he's made 3 of his starts there. His first start there was actually excellent. And then his other starts there were not as good. But he is coming off a pretty bad one, which was his first start, not even going 5 innings against Seattle. He did walk too many guys. Got to get that under control. But he has the ability to do that. As overall, he has a 24-9 strikeout walk ratio, which is not that bad. Very high strikeout rate, more than 1 per inning. He's allowed fewer than 1 hit per inning, so he hasn't been that hittable. And hasn't allowed the long ball at home either. But he's not even at home here. He's on the road, facing a pretty weak offense. So I think he should be in line for a nice little bounce back here. Not only that, but Miami only has 2 hitters who have ever seen him before, and they're 1 for 6 off him with a strikeout and no walks. So he's held him to a 167 average, 333 OPS, but the rest of the lineup hasn't even seen him before. And like I say, when you get these young pitchers that are pretty good, and Singer is, and has good stuff, and he does have a couple years experience now from playing in Kansas City, hitters that haven't seen him before are going to tend to have a little bit of a disadvantage against him because they don't know what it's like to face him in a real game. So I think that gives Singer a little bit of an edge as well. So I like all that. I like the situation, and I like the starting pitching matchup. And actually, I like the bullpen situation as well because Miami, they had to roll out some of their better relievers, like the back end of their bullpen, where Cincinnati used Ashcraft to kind of save their bullpen a little bit yesterday, and Barlow only made 4 pitches, so he might be available again if they really want to use him. Miami used all like their better relievers, like the back end of their bullpen, so I think the bullpen is in favor of Cincinnati in this game as well. Sandy Alcantara pitching for Miami. He's actually a good pitcher, but it just hasn't really translated into results for him, man. He had that one really good season, or actually a couple really good seasons. Last year, he kind of fell apart. Actually, he was pretty much good for a few years prior to that. 2 years ago, I believe he wound up getting injured. But I guess since he's come back from that, he just hasn't been back to that form again, man. I mean, he's putting way too many men on base. He's not very hittable. 14 hits allowed, 17 to third innings pitched, but he's not going deep into games. He's only gone 5 innings twice in 4 starts, which isn't very good, and went 2 innings in his last start at Philly. I know Philly can hit, but still, that's pretty rough. And his 13 to 10 strikeout walk ratio is terrible. That is way too many walks. 1.38 ERA. So you think So you think Singer's whip looks bad. Alcantara's whip is even worse, and a 7.27 ERA is, I guess, it should be a little bit lower than that, but still, he has not pitched well. 1.38 whip is terrible. I think he could get it together if his wildness gets under control, but he has not been good against the Reds. In 29 at-bats, where he's allowed a couple of home runs. 5.0 strikeout walk ratio is good, although he's been wild this year, so he might walk people in this game. 310 batting average against him, and 931 OPS. So Alcantara, even though, yeah, he has the ability to be almost an ace, he's not there right now. Hasn't really shown it this year so far for the most part. So I think you get the more steady pitcher in the better spot here and the better bullpen situation. So give me the Cincinnati Reds, even though they will be public. Yankees, Cleveland. Yankees are trying to avoid a sweep here, I believe. Is Cleveland, I don't know. Some of these series might go one more game into Thursday. I don't even know. So you got to look. This is the end of this one. So these teams, I think, are both going to be off tomorrow. Or at least Cleveland will be. You got Carlos Rodon pitching for the Yankees. People are giving him shit, but he's got a 1.1 whip. He really is not as bad as people claim that he is. Coming off a nice shutout of Tampa, even though he did walk too many guys again. So his problem has really been the walks. He's been virtually unhittable. 16 hits in 29 innings is actually ridiculous. Although he's allowed 5 long balls, which is not good. But 37 strikeouts is also a ridiculously high K rate. Again, 16 walks is just way too many walks. He's just been wild. But he obviously has good stuff and could fool hitters. Against Cleveland, mediocre, 110 at-bats, a big sample size, 17-13 strikeout walk ratio. Again, the walks being a problem there. 273 average, 786 OPS, so mediocre to not great numbers for Rodon against Cleveland. Luis Ortiz pitching for Cleveland. He's new to Cleveland this year. He has not pitched well so far this season, but a lot of it is because one really bad start against San Diego skewing his stats. He actually has pitched better since then, but against weak lineups for the most part. Pittsburgh and Kansas City especially. Anaheim, not a great lineup either, but those two are really weak, Pittsburgh and Kansas City. Still overall 1.41 whip, 5.48 ERA, not good. Against the New York Yankees, 25 at bats worth 7 walks and only 2 strikeouts is a pretty big red flag. That's not good. 280 average allowed, 797 OPS allowed. So neither pitcher does really great. I think probably Rodon actually has the upper hand. The money is coming in that way for the Yankees to avoid the sweep. I don't disagree with that. They're up from minus 133 to minus 155. You're always going to pay a tax on the Yankees, though, although I do agree with them in this one. 85% of the tickets, 95% of the cash coming in on them. I would agree with the over in this game as well, even though I think Rodon is better than he looks, better than people say that he is, but his numbers aren't great against Cleveland. Ortiz, not that great against the Yankees. Total is down from 8.5 to 8.5 juice to the under, though, with a very public over, 86% of the tickets, 90% of the cash on the over, though. So I kind of disagree with that line move there, and I side with the public, actually on both the Yankees and the over there. So maybe that's cause for concern if you agree with the public, but whatever. Philadelphia and the Mets. I mean, I expect Philadelphia to kind of bounce back from yesterday. I think they have the better of the pitching match. And Philadelphia is trying to avoid a sweep as well, as the Mets have won both games in the series. Philadelphia not doing well this year so far. I mean, their pitching has actually kind of fallen apart, but they got their best pitcher on the hill today in Zach Wheeler, so I expect him to get the job done for them. They're up from minus 112 to minus 120. 68% of tickets, 82% of the cash coming in on Philly. I agree with that. Wheeler, I mean, if they're going to get something done here, it's going to be with this guy on the mound, you would have to imagine. Although Sanchez has actually been good as well, and he didn't get it done yesterday. Kind of surprised me. I liked Sanchez in yesterday's game. Wheeler, I mean, he wheels and deals. He's got a 41-6 strikeout walk ratio, just absurd numbers. 25 hits allowed, 31 to third innings pitch. Really low hit rate and nice K rate and ridiculous strikeout walk rate. Very low walk rate as well. Crazy. 0.99 whip, 3.73 ERA. The ERA should actually be lower than that with the whip that low. I mean, his whip is going to go above 1 at some point, but even so, he's good. His numbers against the Mets are fairly good, even though they have a ton of experience against them. 232 at-bats. He still held them to 259 average. 731 OPS isn't terrific, but still, he does pretty well. He is Philly's ace. And David Peterson, don't trust the guy, man. I know he keeps getting the job done as far as limiting the damage, but his whip is always bad. 1.36 whip again this year indicates his 3.27 ERA should be higher. You can't keep putting guys on base and getting away with it, man. And that's what he keeps doing. His strikeout rate is good, though, but he's walked 8 guys and allowed 22 hits in 22 innings, so putting way more than one guy on base an inning. You can't keep doing that. Against Philly, he hasn't been that bad, though. On 130 at-bats, 254 average allowed and 719 OPS. So Peterson has done fairly well against them. So, I mean, I like Philly in this one anyway because I do think Wheeler is still better than Peterson. I would also agree with the under in this game, as I think both starting pitchers actually do decently against the starting lineups. I know there's a lot of familiarity here, and that could go both ways as far as all the hitters are so familiar with these pitchers. Maybe they'll be able to hit them, but I do think the under makes sense. Although Peterson, I still don't really trust him, but the total down from 7.5 to 7.5 juice to the under. 64% of the tickets and 81% of the cash on the over, though. So we'll see what happens there. San Diego and Detroit looks like a big mismatch with Kyle Hart, which again is, who the fuck is this guy? I mean, he was on the Red Sox for a little while. I don't even remember that. He was absolutely abysmal on the Red Sox with a whip of over 3. I mean, that is insane. He was allowing more than 2 hits per inning, not even including the amount of walks, which was almost 1 per inning. Just madness. And I believe he was pitching in Japan or something, and now he's back in the U.S., and he's not pitching well for San Diego, man. I think because of injuries and whatever, they just have to have him in the lineup or in the rotation, and it's not going very well, let's just say. Even though he did have one nice 6-inning shutout, but that was at home against Colorado. Pitcher-friendly environment against a bad offense. other than that, I mean, he's not good. 6.48 ERA and 1.38 whip. So even though the Tigers hitters have never seen Hart before, I just don't think he's good at all. Reese Olson, way better pitcher, and you got to expect that he's going to start getting it going here, as he's had a couple of good seasons, way better than what he's done so far this year. 1.55 whip, 4.5 ERA, bad numbers, but you got to think he's going to turn it around based on what we've seen out of him over the last 2 full seasons. And to some extent, those road starts are kind of skewing his numbers. He's been a lot better at home, so he is at home here as well, so that's a little bit of an advantage to him. But he's not good against San Diego in 23 at-bats. He's allowed a hefty 391 average and 962 OPS, so Olson may not be trustworthy in this game. And again, he's been struggling this year so far, so actually an over kind of makes sense in this game too. Although the total is down from 8.5 juice to the over to 8.5. I mean, it could be that Olson at any point could like break out and give you a good start though. And San Diego, I mean, with Hart not being familiar to the hitters, I mean, I guess it's possible that he pulls it together and pitches well for a game. I mean, very difficult game to handicap, to be honest. 62% of tickets and 61% of the cash on the over. So the over is public with a little bit less of the cash on, and the money seems to be moving towards the under. I don't really agree with that because Olson's stats are just so bad against San Diego, which is why I can't play Detroit here either. 61% of tickets, 67% of the cash coming in on San Diego, which is crazy, even though Detroit's up from minus 138 to minus 151. So I think the money line move means more than the cash percentage here. The public is going to still be on San Diego, man. I played Detroit in game 1 of the series. They won. And I believe San Diego won game 2. So the public still likes San Diego because their overall record is way better. But Detroit is way better at home. They're like 9-3 at home. And San Diego's below 500 on the road, I believe. So Detroit does have a little bit of a home edge there as well. So still would lean to the Detroit side there as well, but not going to play it. Baltimore and Washington, Sugano pitching for Baltimore. I mean, he's a guy who's unfamiliar to opposing offenses because he came over from Japan, and he's been doing fine, limiting the damage, but the money's coming in against him here, even though Trevor Williams is actually really not good at all this season. 1.63 whip, 5.95 ERA, but against Baltimore, he has been good. In 28 at-bats, 11-1 strikeout walk ratio, 179 average, 493 OPS, so Williams has gotten the job done against Baltimore. Sugano, again, I mean, he's been a little bit shaky at times, but he's also a decent pitcher. I mean, he's been pitching in professional baseball for a long time, although he still has to adjust to playing in the U.S. He's been okay, though. And he's unfamiliar to the opposing hitters, so the opposing hitters don't know what to expect from him. So he's got a little bit of an edge there. Baltimore, very public, 79% of tickets, only 52% of the cash, so the money is actually looking like the professional money actually kind of likes taking Washington as a home dog here and going with Williams. I mean, he does do well against Baltimore, but I don't really want to fade a decent pitcher who's not familiar to the opposing hitters. And Washington, I mean, they got problems as well. I mean, their offense isn't that good, and they're going to be facing a pitcher that they are unfamiliar with, and their bullpen is one of the worst in baseball. So I'm a little bit worried about that. And the money has actually come in towards the over as well on a really high total, and I don't really agree with that either. Up from 9 juice to the over to 9.5 juice to the under. A slight move there, but 71% of tickets, 95% of the cash on the over. Again, with two pitchers that I think could actually put together good performances there. I think that total is really high, even though usually when you see a high total, you do not want to play it under. It looks way too easy to play it under in a lot of cases, but in this one, I don't know. I think maybe the odds makers actually do have that one wrong. Speaking of high totals, my Boston Red Sox, 10.5 is the total in this game at Fenway. It might mean the wind is blowing out too, but it does mean you have two shit pitchers on the mound with Emerson Hancock and Sean Newcomb. I mean, this is going to be bad. Duke Nukem. I mean, he put together a good performance last time for the Red Sox. The money is coming in on them up from minus 128 to minus 133. 64% of tickets, 94% of the cash coming in on the Red Sox. Apparently, the professional money, they trust Newcomb more than they trust Hancock, and Hancock has really not been good so far this season. He's a young guy who I think is going to put it together at some point. He was a pretty good prospect, but 12.71 ERA, 2.29 whip. That's brutal. But again, a lot of it was one really bad start against Detroit where he only went 2/3 of an inning. He pitched a lot better in his last start, and that was at Great American Ballpark, which is a tough environment for a pitcher. He pitched way better in that game. 4-0 strikeout walk ratio, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, and 5 innings pitched. That was a good start, so I think he's on the right trajectory here. And the Red Sox, only Bregman has ever faced him before, and he's 0 for 1 with a strikeout. So Hancock is actually unfamiliar to the Red Sox hitting. So I don't know that I agree with the money in this one either. As Newcomb, I don't think he's good at all. 1.9 whip indicates his 3.63 ERA is not even close to correct. He's a local guy from Brockton, Mass. as well. The mean streets of Brockton. Very high crime rate in Brockton. But his ERA should be way higher than that, and he doesn't go deep into games. He hasn't got 5 innings in any start. And he's faced some weak offenses, too, and he didn't even do well against the White Sox. Tampa, also a weak offense. Although, actually, Tampa, I mean, some of their offensive metrics have actually been a little bit better. Newcomb has been good against Seattle, though, as they're 0 for 14 off him, but they do have 4 walks compared to 6 strikeouts. 0 average, though, and 222 OPS, so maybe that's why the money coming in on Newcomb. Don't think I really agree with that. LA and big game Dodgers Chicago, but hard to handicap because it's Matthew Boyd for Chicago, and we don't know who the pitcher is going to be for the Dodgers. He's been good this season. Good against the Dodgers in 77 at-bats. He's really owned them, holding him to a 182 average and 514 OPS. But they did just see Boyd. He pitched well against them again, fairly well, at LA in his second to last start. So Boyd is getting the job done for the Cubs so far, and he has been good historically there. White Sox have Bryce Wilson, who is a guy who's only going to give you like an opener start. So Chicago's going to have to go to the bullpen. Minnesota, giant favorite here. David Festa looking like he's starting to turn it around for them. I'm going to try to go quick with the rest of these. So we will see what happens there. I mean, I'm not going to lay this big a price with Minnesota here, but Bryce Wilson, he does okay in the opener position there. He was doing that like with Milwaukee, and actually they were transitioning decently to their bullpen, but the White Sox don't really have a bullpen, so I don't know what they're going to do there. Colorado, Kansas City, Marquez and Lorenzen actually both have good numbers against these opposing offenses, and neither offense can really hit, so I think that could actually be an under in that game, so that's the way I would lean there. Toronto and Houston, Bowden Francis, good pitcher, obviously, but his numbers against Houston actually are bad. Houston has owned this guy, 27 at bats worth, 444 average, 1,222 OPS. Ryan Gusto, pretty unknown to Toronto, so he's kind of a wild card, though. I mean, he's going a little bit deeper into games now. He's starting to get not quite a starter's workload, but he's actually been really efficient with his pitches to get deeper into games like that. So the money is going for the Gusto there. Let me see here. Where's that game? I don't necessarily disagree with that. Up from minus 115 to minus 116, 57% of the cash there, 52% of tickets on the other side, though, on Toronto. But Francis, because he has bad history against Houston, Gusto could be the way to look there, man. He's unfamiliar to the opposing lineup there, so he might actually have a little bit of an edge, even though I like Bowden Francis. I like playing on him. My other game that I actually do have is a little bit of a price here on Anaheim, minus 150, but I just think this is a spot to fade Pittsburgh, man. Pittsburgh, they crushed Anaheim 9-3 yesterday, which is pretty embarrassing. Pittsburgh used a lot of their bullpen as well, so not a good bullpen anyway, I don't think, but they used a lot of relievers here, more than the Angels did, and I think the Angels are going to have the bullpen edge here. But I also like the starting pitching matchup, and I like L.A., Anaheim to bounce back off of that bad performance. I mean, Andrew Heaney has been good so far for Pittsburgh, 2.13 ERA, 0.91 whip. He's definitely been good. He has faced one really good lineup, actually, in the Yankees, and then he had to go to Great American Ballpark, but that was kind of his worst start there. And he dominates the Yankees, man. I mean, historically, he just has really good numbers against the Yankees. So that was a factor there. Against Anaheim, he's okay in 86 at-bats. 256 average isn't that bad. 22-9 strikeout walk ratio is kind of too many walks, but a 780 batting average allowed is not really, or 780 OPS, is pretty high. It's on the high side. So Anaheim does not hit Heaney. And the thing I like is that they're actually familiar with him because he was on Texas. So Anaheim has recent familiarity with Heaney. And on the other side, Pittsburgh has never seen Jack Kohanowitz. And I know people are going to look at this and want Heaney because his numbers are so much better than Kohanowitz, which I know not good. 6.2 ERA, 1.48 whip. 10-7 strikeout walk ratio is bad as well. His numbers suck. 23 hits and 20 and a third. I don't like any of that. And he's trajecting in the wrong way as well. But 3 of his 4 starts were all on the road. So he had a couple of rough road starts, and now he's coming back home. I think he's going to do a lot better at home, and he's a good young pitcher still, man, with stuff that can fool hitters. And Pittsburgh has never seen him before. So with the unfamiliarity aspect going for us, bullpen, I think we have the advantage. Money pouring in on L.A. Anaheim up from minus 130, minus 152. 52% of tickets on Pittsburgh because the public, I think, looks at the starting pitching matchup and they want Heaney. I don't agree. 90% of the cash coming in on Anaheim. I will take Anaheim in that game. And then we got, Arizona. Eduardo Rodriguez, actually not that bad a pitcher. I think he has decent numbers against Tampa as well. Taj Bradley might be a little bit of actually a more wild. Actually, no, he doesn't. 802 OPS, never mind. So Rodriguez has not been that good. I apologize. I got to get out of here, though, man. Taj Bradley hasn't been off to a good start either. His numbers are actually bad against Arizona as well. So maybe look to an over in that game would be a quick read there, although the money's coming in on the under. And it started to push the lineup on Arizona, but it looks like the cash percentage is kind of disagreeing with that now. I like the under in Milwaukee and San Francisco, and I almost played it. The problem is you have to go like minus 125. You have to lay minus 125 on the under 7 now. And I really don't want to go under 6.5 because 7's a key number in baseball. It's where you get that threshold there, breaking the tie. Freddie Peralta, Logan Webb, both really good starters, and they both have good numbers against the opposing offenses. So the under is still really the lean there, but I just don't want to pay the price for it. Texas and Athletics. I mean, Kumar Rocker, the money I think is coming in on him. He's a bit more of an unknown, but he's been bad against the A's, actually. A's have seen him a bit, and they've hit him to a 389 average, 778 OPS, and 18 at-bats. That's pretty bad. Sears has actually been better against Texas. So Sears actually pitching well this year. He's held Texas to a 223 average and 656 OPS. Problem is the money is coming in on the Kumar Rocker side on Texas. 90% of the cash, 65% of tickets. So I don't love that. I don't really agree with it. And Kumar Rocker could wind up getting rocked in a game at this bad pitching park. It's a good hitter's park in Sacramento. So that's going to do it for me. Tower Gang Tone on Twitter. Tower Gang tonight, baby. Patreon.com/Tower Gang. Peace out.